Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Cabling. Today we're going to continue the series on our BICSI Winter Conference. Just a couple people talking about their experience. Might entice you to go to a new one. Let's follow along.
Don't hang up that phone. We've found what you're looking for. Welcome to the Let's Talk Cabling podcast with Chuck Bowser, RCDD. Well, seeing how we're pulling Category 6A, the most powerful twisted pair in the world, you got to ask yourself this one question. Did I pull 295 or 300 feet? Well, do you feel lucky? Do you, punk? In this podcast, you'll learn the differences between a 66 and 110 punch tool, the proper way to install a support cable, along with testing and certifying the cable. What exactly does RCDD stand for? Registered Communications Distribution Designer. Just the expert you need to ensure your cable plant performs exactly as designed. The elite professional, knowledgeable, and experienced in leading-edge ICT design principles. So join us as we talk about the ever-changing world of telecommunications. From ISP to OSP, from copper to fiber, design to installation. Now, send the new guy to the truck for a bucket of dial tone and the cable stretchers, while you listen to an informative program on telecommunications.
Welcome to the show where we answer your questions. The ICT installer, project manager, estimator, maybe even the IT person. We are connecting at the human level so we can connect the world. If you're watching this on YouTube, would you mind hitting the subscribe button and the bell button to be notified? If you're listening to us on podcast, give us a rating, please. 5-star if you might. If it's not 5 stars, shoot me an email. Let me know what I can do better. Those simple steps help us beat that nasty old algorithm, which helps get the message out so we can help make this industry better and more accessible to more people in the ICT industry. If you don't know where any of those stuff were that I just mentioned, just go to our webpage, letstalkcabling.com. Everything's there, all in one, even the articles. So come visit us. So today with us, we have Todd and Carlo. Todd, welcome to the show. And Carlo, welcome to the show as well.
Thanks for having us.
So Todd, I know it's going to be hard to do. Give us a 90-second glimpse of how you got in the ICT industry.
I don't know if we can do this in 90 seconds, but I'll try my best. So a very, very long history within my lineage in the business is I was working for the city of Carlsbad, slinging asphalt and concrete. And I got a call one day from my brother out in Texas. And he says, I'm starting a cable company. Do you want to come pull cable? I had no idea what that was. So like the Beverly Hillbillies, we packed up, we headed to Texas. Started off with me and my brother just doing that. And I did all facets of infrastructure. And we ended up being one of the largest contractors in the nation, believe it or not. It took us a number of years, but we ended up, my final project was recabling the world's largest airline just about on every continent that they operate in. So, everything from a contractor to a manufacturer's representative to working for distribution. And now with brother, the past 9 years, and I'm still loving the industry. So thanks for asking, Chuck.
I love this industry as well. So the one thing we have in common, you might have cabled the world's largest industry. I cabled the world's largest office building.
Ooh, man, I'm telling you, we're gonna have to talk about that sometime.
Yeah. Well, there's only certain things I can talk about that. And it was many, many years ago, but
Yeah, I get you.
Yep. So Carlo, what's your 90-second history?
Yeah, my 90-second history is I got into the industry the last 2 years of college. A buddy was starting his company. So I did that for the last 2 years of college and didn't know what I was doing after college. So I stuck with it, doing some residential, fire alarm, security. Got into the apprenticeship program, 4-year electrical apprenticeship program. And that was really helpful because I learned all of the electrical, line voltage and also doing controls and fire alarm, everything like that. The last contractor I was with helped me get my RCDD, and it's been great in the industry. There's a lot of help. Everybody wants to help each other, and I wouldn't be where I'm at today without the RCDD and with BICSI. So
You're right. This industry does we do like to help ourselves, but not before we run you through the ringer. We always pick on those new guys. I was telling in my other interview, I remember I got sent out to the truck to get the bucket of dial tone. I fell
Yeah,
for
yeah,
that. You know, we like to pick on our people. So
yeah.
the first question I'm going to give it to you first, Carlo. Was this your first BICSI conference?
No, this was not my first BICSI conference in Las Vegas was the first one for me. However, this was the first virtual conference that I've attended.
Very cool. So you've been to both a virtual and a regular one. How do you feel about the virtual one compared to a face-to-face conference?
Well, the virtual worked this year due to price point. I enjoy that the content is available 30 days after the conference, and mostly because my work schedule is really overloaded right now. So it's very helpful right now.
Very cool. Todd, I bet this wasn't your first BICSI conference, was it?
No, not by a long shot. No, I've been going a very long time.
Was this your first virtual one?
No, this is my second virtual. So we did the one last time, I guess it was supposed to be in Vegas. This one was in the Orlando one, but no, second one. This one I felt went a little better. You know, the first time was BICSI's first virtual conference, and so it was all new to them. And I definitely think they worked out some of the kinks. Little bit different. I can tell you, I prefer face-to-face, the actual BICSI conference. I think anybody would be lying if they said that they didn't. But the cool thing about anything associated with our industry, including the virtual BICSI conference, is that, you know, even though I sell labeling and just labeling, you have to stay on top of everything. And so the cool thing about the BICSI conference is, as I'm jumping in between, as I'm manning the booth, believe it or not, I'm working the booth. I'll go into some of the other booths to take a look at some of the new stuff and what's going on. And I thought that was very helpful.
Yeah, this is if I had to guess the number of conferences I've been to, and it'd be a total guess because I've never really ever counted them. I'm probably in the 15 range, and I've been to both virtual conferences. And I agree with you, Todd. I think even the first virtual conference I think was still a good one. I think I think they did even better this time.
Yep.
I mentioned this in the guy that was interviewing yesterday. The only thing that was really missing. So when you first go into the virtual conference, it's got that. It looks like you're at the conference and you're looking at all the people walking around. Nobody had their BICSI backpack on.
No.
That's right. That's
the only thing that was missing.
Well, now, wait a minute. The other thing is, and being as I'm in the printing industry, one of the things that I did for myself is I printed myself a bunch of drink tickets to make it feel like I was actually there. True story. I tried to find what I had that I printed. But yeah, no, that's one of the things obviously people miss is the social interaction, the happy hours and so forth and whatnot. But I found a way to make it fun.
Yeah,
excellent.
I kind of hope that did you get this? Did you guys get the survey that BICSI had kicked out about how was the conference?
I have not yet.
Don't recall.
Yeah, I just got mine yesterday, I think it was, and it was just a series of questions and stuff. And one of the things it asked was, asked for some suggestions, and I said, I hope you do a blend moving forward because I can see the benefits for both. I really, really can. And because I mean, since everybody here's been to more than one BICSI conference, we all know, on a face-to-face one, that first day you're there, you do the learning, and then you go to the exhibit hall afterwards, and then some manufacturer asks you to go out to some bar, to some party, and then next thing you know, except for Todd, of course, and then next thing you know, you stay up a little too late, and then next morning you're a little slow and stuff. With it virtual, all you gotta do is open up the laptop and just log in, and you can still get that benefit. So I think moving forward, I think a blend would be really, really good, especially since we're trying to attract younger people to the industry. Because the younger people really like communicating through that types of means.
Well, you get more time. So one of the things that I found is that when you're in a group of people, sometimes it's real tough to concentrate. Sometimes you forget on where you wanted to go or who you wanted to see. But the cool thing about this is that you actually get a little more time virtually to go into their virtual booth and take a look at their videos and take a look at the information and spend a little more time than I think you normally would. Because as we all know, a typical BICSI, and you mentioned earlier, Chuck, is that you grab a backpack, you walk around, you fill your backpack full of stuff, and then there's that download time where you're having to go through all of it. So I think you can spend a little more time.
No, I was gonna say I agree with you too as far as a blend. This year it worked out for me again because of my workload, and it was nice to be able to, fulfill that credit for the RCDD, conference, um, requirement, and also because of my workload, just to handle everything, at home. As with this COVID world, everything has changed to remote, work, remote conferences, remote learning. Everything's going remote, and it just worked out in my benefit this year.
So Carlo, I believe you actually you work for a contractor, right? You're actually an installer. Am I correct with that, or a designer?
Right now I'm a designer, yeah.
Okay.
Designer, consultant kind of thing, yeah.
So let me ask you this, and I'm going to follow up with you too, Todd. As a designer, not an exhibitor, I'm going to ask Todd how he feels about it as an exhibitor, but as a designer, how did you feel about the exhibit booths?
Uh, I miss the person. I miss talking to the person and interacting with the person. My backpack wasn't heavy at all. It was a virtual backpack, so I didn't feel any of that weight on my shoulder. But I do miss the face-to-face talking, and I was able to get answers from the exhibitors like Panduit. They were very responsive to my questions, and then I even had a Zoom session afterwards. So it was great in that regard. But still, the face-to-face, you can't beat it.
Yeah, I know for us, just looking at it from an exhibitor, because I only had the exhibitor pass this year or for this last conference. And, in a face-to-face, when somebody walks in your booth, you literally have like maybe 30 seconds to engage with that person and hook them and get a conversation going. With the virtual booths, we were finding, and let me know if this is any different from you, Todd, because I know you're a manufacturer. There was people logging into the booth, and then they would stay there all day long. They wouldn't necessarily communicate all day long, but they were in your booth all day long. And then we were doing all kinds of stuff to kind of hook people and bring back in the conversation. Looking at it from an exhibitor, Todd, how was the virtual conference for you guys?
Well, I'm kind of with Carlo, where you miss that human interaction. A big part of sales for me is human interaction and personality. And part of the reason why I feel I'm successful, and it's not my boyish good looks anymore, but it's the way I present myself and the way that people warm up to me, and vice versa. It gives you that extra little edge if somebody's on the fence between the brother product and maybe my competitor's product. So from that standpoint, I think it was a little bit lacking. All right. And again, there's really nothing we can do about it. I think BICSI did the best they could at trying to get as close as they could to that interaction. And they have their chat features, and you had the ability to go off into a separate Zoom session. But again, from my standpoint, completely different. And again, that human interaction was missing. But overall, I definitely think it's better than nothing. So
yeah, Todd, you're just a social butterfly.
Well, thanks, Chuck. I appreciate that. That's me.
Or should I say social dragon?
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that Zoom thing. We didn't do it in our booth, but I was in the Low Voltage Nation booth, and I was in there, and there was a company in there doing demonstrations for fusion splicers, and they did a Zoom call outside of that. And I was like, that is absolutely cool. And I talked to our marketing people, said we need to do that next time, because that way you have one-on-one, and at least that can kind of bring some of that face-to-face, and maybe Todd's personality might show up a little bit and kind of just a little bit. Exactly. So the next question I have for you, and I'll start off with you first, Todd, since I hit Carlo first the last time. Would you recommend the BICSI conference for someone who's new to the industry and they might want to attend, but they're kind of looking at the cost, they're not really sure, they're kind of hesitant to pull the trigger, would you recommend someone to go to a BICSI conference?
Well, if that's where their heart is, absolutely, I think it's an absolute must. I really do. And back when we were allowed out of the house, these up and comers, young kids, newbies, if you will, they go to, let's say, a conference in Vegas. Oh, they're hooked. They're hooked. But so it may be a little bit different. So this may, if anything else, weed out the ones that, maybe their heart's not in it. But if you get somebody that's interested in the business and they go to, let's say, a virtual trade show like the BICSI trade show, they're there for business. They're there to learn. They're there to absorb everything and to get as much information as they can, and hopefully sober. So again, I would absolutely recommend that anyone new to the business, thinking about the business, definitely attend a BICSI conference.
Very cool. Carlo, what's your opinion? It's the same question.
I agree with Todd. This is like a one-stop shop for information to the ICT industry. You have everything there. You have reps there. You have education seminars there. You have speakers there. So many people, so many subject matter experts are there, and everybody's just bumping into one another. When you could go there live, everybody's bumping into another, and even on the virtual, you had the virtual chat room, and again, I think it's just a great opportunity to learn as much as you can, especially in a short window of time, that these conferences are held.
Yeah, I think it's a huge time saver, because when I was still working for a contractor, I used to go every year. I used to go to the winter conference every year. It's just part of my requirement. And I made sure that I went to every booth in exhibit hall, because you can easily capitalize. If you wanted to find out something, it's just a little matter of walking down a couple of aisles, and boom, you'd have that information. Where before, if you're back at the office, you had to make phone calls, send emails, maybe get a return email. And like you said, Todd, it's face-to-face interaction. You get to, you get a lot better conversation going and a better answer if you got someone face-to-face. You really do. It just, I think, I really do like the virtual thing, and I think in the future there's going to be there's room for both. I do. I really do think there's room for both. So if you guys had to give it a rating, 5-star being the best, 1-star being, what would you give it, Carlo?
I would give it a 4. I got what I wanted to get out of it, which was I had a list of the reps that I wanted to talk to, and I got to meet you. That was a plus. So, like I said, I've been listening to your podcast. So
the check's in the mail.
All right. There we go. There we go. Thank you very much.
Todd.
All righty.
By the way, Todd's a content creator as well. He does a bi-weekly show called BS with Todd. And when I'm not teaching a class, I'm always attending that thing. He's always talking about good stuff, labeling and stuff like that. So.
Well, one of these days, Chuck, you're going to have to come over and you owe me one. I've done, so one of these times we're going to have you on board and talk about labeling from, a RCDD's perspective and the importance anyway. But
Yep.
Yeah, you owe me one, Chuck.
Not a problem. So how do you rate it? 1-star, 2-star, 5 stars?
You know what? I'm going to give it a 3, Chuck, and no disrespect for BICSI. I just base that 3 on my overall experience, and you comparing it to what we have been used to. I think this would have been my 19th BICSI, I think. So I've got to base the whole experience on the lineage, and a 3 for me is 3.5. I'll give it a 3.5. All right. Everyone's getting used to this virtual stuff, and some people are sick of it, and you and I have definitely benefited in keeping everything relevant within the industry. So I think it's been a good platform for us. I think there's a few things that they could have done on the backside that that may have helped, but 3.5, I think, is a real good rating, and overall, I was pleased with it. So that's the most important thing. Forget the 3.5. Was Todd happy with the conference? And the answer is yes.
Cool. So I got actually two questions, because one we forgot to ask. I'll ask it in a second. But as a follow-up, what is one thing that they could have done better? And I kind of have jokingly talked about the whole backpack thing. I was just joking about that. But the one thing that I think that they maybe could improve next virtual conference, make the chat things automatically scroll. Oh, that was such a from trying to get conversations going when you had them going, you had to always kind of click, and just,
Well, I came into the Low Voltage Nation booth a couple of times, and you guys were busy most of the time, and it's kind of the same thing. I even, you got to scroll and then scroll back, and then in my booth, when I was manning my booth, it's kind of the same thing. The other thing they could improve on is the one-on-one Zoom calls. I don't think it was clear to those on who wanted to get on a Zoom with us. It was to us because ahead of time we had the opportunity to go through some training with the BICSI folks on how to man the booth, but I don't think it was quite clear to them on how to do it. The other thing is, different fonts, I know they had some colors in there, and maybe the ability to share files on demand.
Oh, that's great idea.
Well, because otherwise you have to tell them, okay, get out of chat, go in the booth and go here, go there. So I think the ability to share some information on demand, that would have been a plus as well.
That's a great
little things, and they're learning. Every time they do this, they learn a bit, and there's only so much they can do. And but I think those little things could go and make it from a 3.5 to a 4.5. Little things like that.
Carlo, what's if you have one thing that you wish that they make better at the next virtual conference, what would that be?
That's a tough one for me. Being an attendee, I do miss the human interaction and talking with people. So, and then, just looking over my stuff at the end of the day, going through the pamphlets and seeing what I missed, seeing, other questions that I want to come back to. So that's a tough question for me. And for it being my first virtual, I don't know if I would change anything right now.
Gotcha. And the question that you missed earlier. Okay, Todd.
I was going to say, Carlo, if you miss it that bad, all right, I am a manufacturer. And if it helps, we can do a Zoom call at some time, and hopefully that'll make you feel better. So that's the best we can do right now.
Warms my heart.
You mentioned that, Todd, but you're absolutely right. For people like you and me, we're doing Zoom all the time, as part of our stuff. But there's a lot of people that really have not done Zoom, and they don't know what that Zoom long URL thing is, and so it's a missed opportunity, unfortunately. So the question I forgot to ask you guys is, did you guys get to attend any of the learning sessions?
I did not. Again, I just didn't have the time to do so. We have our booth schedules, and then there's everything in between. And so I did not, the best I did to get close to what that question was is kind of hang out with the Low Voltage Nation group. And there was a lot of really good banter in there about some of the new stuff, but I did not have the opportunity.
Gotcha. What about you, Carly? Did you attend any of the learning stuff?
No, my work schedule was way too busy. I was pretty focused in regards to this conference, and talking to the people I wanted to talk to and get the answers I wanted to talk to. I should have hung out more also with the Low Voltage Nation guys, but again, time was stretched for me.
Yeah, the beautiful thing though is because it's virtual, you have access to it and go back and watch it.
Right, exactly.
And I think that's what
I like about it.
And I think that's one of the positives of the virtual thing. And who knows what the future will hold, but I think I gave the conference a 5. I said that in the interview I did yesterday. I think they did good because I understand that if you're not comparing it, when I say 5, I'm not comparing it to the face-to-face, because those are two different animals. You're comparing apples and oranges. Comparing it to I gave the 5-star comparing it to the previous virtual conference. And they made some
Chuck,
improvements.
you brought up a good point. In fact, prior to this, I was looking at a video that Blake did with Low Voltage Nation, and it was how to, draw some of the younger crowd into our business, more or less. And you brought up a good point where a lot of the older folks like you, Chuck, they and me too, okay, they're really not caught up yet on this Zoom stuff. The guys still using their flip phones and whatever. So I think they lost with this new stuff. And I don't have any analytics on this, but I know when I try to set up Zoom calls with some of my potential customers, they really don't know how this works. And so I think that might have been tough on some of us old crew that really don't know how to do this. So maybe a suggestion next year is somehow, some way, make it older friendly. Does that make any sense?
You know what? They could maybe in the exhibitor booth, maybe somebody who wants to do like a Zoom call, make it like a button that they click on that automatically redirects them to that Zoom URL. So that way they're not having to copy, paste, and all that stuff. And it just automatically launches. That could be a potential suggestion. Right?
Anything could help. So
right. There's a huge gap between us old guys over here and the new people coming in that are real social, like Blake, who are real social. They've got that stuff down pat. I'm struggling. I still struggle with all that stuff. I know.
Yeah.
So any final thoughts that you guys did? Anything we missed or something maybe you want to say about the conference?
Well, I as we all on this call hope, I think they did the best that they could have during these trying times, and I'm just waiting, hopefully, to attend the next one live in person. But if this does continue, and like you said, it may be a good platform for an in-betweener, Chuck. Mm-hmm. Between the two big conferences, maybe they got some in-betweeners kind of based around the model that they're using right now. But I can't wait to get back out in front of people, and that's really it for me. Final thoughts, but good job overall.
Yeah, as forward thinking as BICSI is, they probably already thought about it, and they probably already started planning. If I know BICSI,
no doubt.
Carlo, any final thoughts?
For me, I would think about maybe inviting other trade partners. For me, the apprenticeship program that I went through, it was pretty formative in my early years, and it gave me a lot of knowledge and industry contacts that have helped me out throughout the years. So it'd be nice to see some of those programs there as we're trying to attract, the newer crowd to take over, the older crowd, to get out and enjoy the golf course and everything else, to let the younger crowd go have their fun in the trenches,
Right. My day job, because I'm not a full-time podcast or content creator. I have a full-time job, and so a lot of times I'm an instructor, so sometimes we actually give out scholarships. Maybe that's something that that might benefit them is contact the local joint apprenticeship programs and say, look, here's a X number of free scholarships to come attend the virtual for free, because there's very little cost for them to do that, right? And it opens, like you said, it opens up the door to potential somebody down the road says, wait a minute, BICSI has a certification program? Wait a minute, BICSI has an RCDD program? Wait, BICSI sells books? It's a huge opportunity for them. I don't know if they probably already thought about it. But,
yeah. And it's not plumbing. I mean, what more do you want?
Yeah. I meant to tell Todd, I bet he's happy he got into cabling and got away from doing concrete work.
How did I, or what would you say?
I bet you're happy you got into cabling and got away from concrete.
You know what, I got to tell you, I've got a knee replacement, a hip replacement. I've got screws in my back. So yes, I traded the brawn for the brain. well, I don't know if that's done me anyway, but yeah, no, you know what, it's a trade. Concrete is also a trade, construction's a trade, but it just wears you out. And the good thing about what we're doing, even now, talking about this stuff, is it is a trade. It renews itself over and over and over again. It keeps the mind fresh. So absolutely, I'm glad I got into this industry many moons ago.
All right, gentlemen, I appreciate you guys being on today, and we'll talk to you guys later.
That's it for this episode of today's podcast. We hope you were able to learn something. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future content. Also, leave a rating so we can help even more people learn about telecommunications. Until next time, be safe.